Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which I think we all know is a sequel to the much beloved Ocarina of Time, of course also on the Nintendo 64. Just gonna go ahead and create a new file here, just gonna call it Kyle for a little bit of personalization, I guess. I wanted to leave that opening cutscene in there, by the way, because it really kind of sets the mood and the tone and the atmosphere of Majora's Mask when you compare it to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time was kind of a, I'm not gonna say a bland story, because I really liked it, but it was kind of more traditional. Majora's Mask is not exactly a traditional story, especially when you compare it to all the other Ocarina or Zelda games in the series. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and that is why I left that opening cutscene in there, because like I said, it kind of sets up the tone a little bit. However, we are going to be getting another opening cutscene here that also kind of lends support to that tone, so I hope you guys enjoy this as well. In the land of Hyrule, there echoes a legend held dearly by the royal family that tells of a boy. A boy who, after battling evil and saving Hyrule, crept away from the land that had made him a legend. Done with the battles he once waged across time, he embarked on a journey, a secret and personal journey. A journey in search of a beloved and invaluable friend. A friend with whom he parted ways when he finally fulfilled his heroic destiny and took his place among legends. Now, if only Epona had not run off with the Skullkin on his back, we probably could have gotten the Ocarina back much sooner than it's going to take to get it back as far as the story is set out as it stands right now. One thing I want to show you that is new about Majora's Mask right off the bat is not that jump. I was going to say the jumping animations are different. Apparently, the first jump in the game is exactly the same as Ocarina of Time, but this one should be different. And there we go. So there are really small, fine-tuned adjustments, I feel, in Majora's Mask, which is why Majora's Mask is, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I think I did anyway, Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game. It took everything that was good about Ocarina of Time and made it a million times better and added a lot of stuff. But I do believe once we go through this passageway, we're going to be getting another very important cutscene. What's with that stupid horse of yours? It doesn't listen to a word that's said to it. There's no point in riding a thing like that, so I did you a favor and got rid of it. Hee hee. Ah, boo-hoo, why the sad face? I just thought I'd have a little fun with you. Oh, come now. Do you really think you can beat me as I am now? Fool! Hee hee, now that's a good look for you. You'll stay here looking that way forever. Sis! Whoa, whoa, Skull Kid, wait for me! I'm still here! Tail, you can't leave without me! You! If I wasn't dealing with you, I wouldn't have gotten separated from my brother! Well, don't just sit there, Deku Boy, do something! Why are you looking at me like that? What, is there something stuck in my face? Will you stop staring and just open that door for me? Please, come on, a helpless little girl is asking you, so hurry up. Oh, Tail, I wonder if that child will be alright on his own. We are finally getting into the main gameplay of Majora's Mask here, which, like, I can't iterate this enough, or reiterate it, I guess. It is definitely my favorite Zelda game in the entire world. One thing I want to point out, though, before we go through that door, is that I'm standing on what looks like from the top. It's kind of washed out from this angle, so I can't really show it to you that well. But I believe I'm standing on the part that I want to explain right here. It kind of looks like an inverted Triforce almost. Actually, what it looks like is if you took this piece of the Triforce right here, or that triangle, and put it up here, it would be a full Triforce. So I've always taken that to be some sort of symbolism. I hate looking at, well, you know, the thing is, I was going to say, I don't want to take symbolism too far in video games, but this game is absolutely full of that sort of symbolism, so maybe it's not too out of left field to do that kind of thing in Majora's Mask. One more thing I want to show you before we go through there is that these patches of grass, or this patch of grass, is not the same as other patches of grass we've seen in the Zelda series. This one actually tries to fight back a little bit. It doesn't actually hurt you or anything at this point anyway. We will get into that a little bit more as we get through the game. Now, going through the stone wall here, speaking of symbolism and stuff like that, the walls in this, or not even just the walls, like the environments in this game, have a whole lot more to them, I feel, than Ocarina of Time's environments did. As you can see right here, they're like paintings on the walls or whatever. I'm not even sure what these are supposed to be. Actually, it kind of looks like waves with, like, you know, dolphin tails, not dolphin tails, maybe like mermaid tails or something like that. And the ocean is a very important part of this game, so I have to wonder if that plays into that whatsoever. But we're going to go ahead and go through this passageway again. I do believe we're going to be getting sort of an introductory tutorial here as well. Hey, wait for me. Don't leave me behind. So, that stuff back there, I, apologize, so take me with you. You want to know about that Skullcoot who just ran off, right? Well, I just so happen to have an idea of where he might be going. Take me with you and I'll help you out. Deal? Please? Good, so then it's settled. Now then, I'll be your partner, or at least until we catch that Skull Kid. My name's Tatl, so, it's nice to meet you or whatever. Now that we've got all that straightened out, can we stop messing around and get moving? If I figure something out, press up C and I'll tell it to you. Hopefully you'll manage to get by without my help until then. I've always loved that response there by Link, and especially in his Deku form that always looked kind of, cute to me, but Tatl is the name of our new fairy helper, and Tail is supposed to be the pun going on there because Tail is her brother's name. The good thing about Tatl, if we walk under this flower, you'll be able to hear she doesn't yell at us like Navi did in Ocarina of Time. She makes a more subdued noise. More of like a dinging sound, which is, I guess, a little less annoying than the yelling that Navi constantly did. And I've actually heard that with all the complaints that people had about Navi, that is why they made our fairy helper in this game a lot less helpful and a lot less annoying. And I can't say that I am too mad that they did either of those things, even though I was never really one to hate Navi too much. Now this room right here we can never come back to, and that treasure chest you can kind of see up there in the top left is the only missable treasure chest in the entire game. The only thing I want to say before I go get that is that, believe it or not, you can actually cut right across to go over to that platform that I'm looking at with that Deku flower on it, which is what a lot of speedrunners will do, just completely cut off this corner over here because it's not entirely necessary to come get this treasure chest. Actually, I'm not sure if in 100% speedruns, if they go for this treasure chest or not. I don't think they would, because I think the 100% definition for Majora's Mask is like get all the masks, get all the... Actually, I'm not even, like I said, I'm not even really sure what the definition is for 100% in Majora's Mask. And I will probably be talking about speedrunning quite a bit in Majora's Mask and the Paper Mario Let's Play that I need to resume as well, because I really like the aspects of speedrunning, especially in these old N64 games. But anyway, speedrunning talk aside, we did get some Deku Nuts right there. They do function very similar to like they did in Ocarina of Time. You can throw them like so, or you can launch in the Deku Flowers and drop them like bombs straight down. I've never actually really used that attack that much though, so I don't think, like, I've never used it when I used to play the game a long time ago or anything. I can't really think of any specific situations where that might be useful, because there are other attacks, just like throwing it can also stun them, so I'm not sure when you would ever need to drop them from up high. But anyway, another tutorial is going to be had here. It is very similar to the Z-targeting tutorial we had from that girl on top of the shop in Ocarina of Time. There you go, see? You can do it if you try. When I fly over to people or objects, use Z to look at them so you can talk to them. Use Z-targeting to talk to people even if they're far away. Or if there's no one to target, you can use Z to look straight ahead. But enough about that for now. Come over to this tree and check it out. So Z-targeting works pretty much exactly the same as it did in Ocarina of Time, and I never really, appreciated Z-targeting back in the day. But looking back over the evolution of the games that I played when I was a kid, Z-targeting was actually kind of a big deal. Well, let's go ahead and check out this tree like Tatl told us to. It's strange, but the way you look right now sort of looks like this tree. It looks all dark and gloomy, almost like it could start crying any second now. How sad. So yeah, the tree is very sad, and if we stand right next to it and I get the camera angle just right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the camera angle just right. It's not even really that important. I just want to show you that we do look eerily similar to that tree. Believe it or not, that tree is extremely important, and we probably would not be able to complete the game without the sacrifice, so to speak, that tree made. And believe it or not, that tree will be shown in the cutscene after the final boss. None of this is really spoilers because it doesn't really tell you too much, but just know that that tree is a lot more important than just a Z-targeting tutorial. But I do believe once we go through here, we're going to be getting yet another cutscene. Now, there was another one of those windy hallways like we saw in the Forest Temple in the first game. Actually, I think there were like two of those in the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time. This door right here was probably one of the most frustrating things for me when I was a kid, because you can never go back in there. There might be a way to clip in there with glitches or something like that that I don't know of, but I've never heard of that. Anyway, all that aside, there was no way to go back in there legitimately, which always aided me because I always wanted to see. I guess I didn't really get the concept of the fact that you can't go back to Hyrule if it's not actually programmed in the game. And yes, that is right, we are not actually in Hyrule anymore. We are in a new land, the land in which Majora's Mask takes place, I should say. One thing I want to point out before we go upstairs is that we are in a clock tower type, actually not even a type of thing, we are in a clock tower. I've always thought that this water wheel was a very cool thing. Like, the first thing we see in the land that we come into is this water wheel. You might not think that's a very big deal, but that water wheel is what I assume turns the clock upstairs, or whatever. I've always heard that Termina, which is the land that we're in right now, is a lot more technologically advanced. It's kind of like the analog to Hyrule, but it's a lot more technologically advanced. I think this is a pretty cool way to introduce that concept, because the first thing we see is the fact that Termina is a lot more technologically advanced than Hyrule. Like, I've always thought that was a really cool thing. Now, anyway, one thing I want to show, as soon as we go up, like, the third stair right there, we're going to be getting a cutscene. There actually is a way to skip that cutscene, and I kind of want to show you all these tricks that I know about. I don't know everything about the game, but I do know a fair bit that I want to show you if I have, you know, anything special that I think you might not know about, like, glitching and stuff like that. If you don't know, especially this cutscene, I'm not sure about subsequent cutscenes. Cutscenes take 2 frames to load, and every time you pause the game and unpause, you can advance the game by 1 frame. As you can see, I'm advancing by 1 frame. I think it might have actually been 2 frames right there, but regardless, this cutscene needs 2 frames to load. You can actually go up the staircase 1 frame at a time and go in the door and skip the cutscene that we're about to see, but I don't want to do that because the cutscene I'm about to walk into is also a very important cutscene in the realm of Termina. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? I own the Happy Mask shop. I travel far and wide in search of masks. During my travels, a very important mask was stolen from me by an imp in the woods. So here I am at a loss, and now I found you. Now, don't think me rude, but I have been following you. For I know of a way to return you to your former self. If you can get back the precious item that was stolen from you, I will return you to normal. In exchange, all I ask is that you also get back my precious mask that that imp stole from me. What? Is it not a simple task? Why, to someone like you, it should be by no means a difficult task. Except, the one thing is, I'm a very busy fellow, and I must leave this place in 3 days. How grateful I would be if you could bring it back to me before my time here is up. But yes, you'll be fine. I see you are young and have tremendous courage. I'm sure you'll find it right away. Well then, I'm counting on you. Now, he did mention the fact that we are a very courageous fellow, which I do believe our Triforce piece in Ocarina of Time, or just pretty much every game that Link has a piece of the Ocarina, which I think is every game, except I haven't played some of the newer ones like Spirit Tracks and stuff like that. But anyway, our piece of the Triforce is the Triforce of Courage, so I always thought that was pretty cool. Now, this guy right here is the Happy Mask Salesman from the first game. As soon as we walk out here, I don't want to spoil too much, I just thought I should say that all of the characters, not all the characters, but most of the characters in Majora's Mask have an analog in Hyrule, but the Happy Mask Salesman is actually the same Happy Mask Salesman that was in Ocarina of Time, and I actually have heard that in the 3D remake of Ocarina of Time, the Happy Mask Salesman has this little backpack full of masks on in that shop in Hyrule, which I thought was always kind of cool. Now, speaking of masks, he has a wide assortment of masks back here, as you can see. I've always heard that that is supposed to be Elvis right there. I've heard that's supposed to be Darth Maul, but I'm not entirely sure, and that one up there kind of looks like a mask that we will be getting later on in the game. But the true, I guess, best mask, I guess, in my opinion anyway, is that mask right there, which is always a little bit hard to get a good view on, I guess because they wanted it to be a little bit more of a secret, is, of course, a Mario mask. I've always hoped, or I always wished, that you could get, or maybe not in this game, I didn't think you could do it or anything, I just thought it would be kind of cool if you could get masks like that in maybe an updated version of the game, or just a similar idea in a different game, where you can put on masks like that and become Mario or become Darth Maul or whatever, like, you know, stuff like that. It kind of reminds me actually of Super Mario 64 DS, how you can put the masks on or the hats or whatever and become those characters. But anyway, rambling aside, even though it's not really rambling, that actually is a very important character we're looking at right there. We need to exit the clock tower and be introduced to the world of Clock Town. He gives me the creeps. That mask salesman was the... Sorry, just thinking aloud. But 3 days? Even if we never sleep, that still leaves us with a measly 72 hours. Talk about demanding. Well, don't just stand there. We're going to see the Great Fairy. Look, you want to find the Skull Kid, don't you? The Great Fairy will know what he's up to. She watches over everything. And just between you and me, the Skull Kid is no match for the Great Fairy. Go to the shrine near the North Gate. You'll find the Great Fairy in there. You know, one thing I've always wondered, and by the way, before I get into that little story, and before I get into what I was going to interrupt that story to tell you, this dog, which, there he is, I was going to say he kind of disappeared, this dog really hates Deku Scrubs. He will actually attack us if we can get him out of the water. There we go. Now, that dog is actually one of the cooler parts of the game, I think. I think it serves to show that, you know, I hate to say this, it sounds kind of weird, but anyway, in Majora's Mask, in this town specifically, there is a lot of racism, believe it or not. When I talked about themes earlier, that is one actually the themes that, like, I didn't get when I was a kid, but playing through it again, nobody likes Deku Scrubs. There is blatant racism against Deku Scrubs. You might, you know, not agree with that, but later on, we're going to be talking to some kids that will not let Deku Scrubs into their club or whatever, and that also is a little bit more evidence. But anyway, we need to go ahead and get this stray fairy right here, which says, I've kind of skipped everything. Actually, this text box right here is what we needed to know. We need to get back to the fairy fountain in North Clock Town, which is what Tatl told us to do, and that is because there is a concept in this game, which was also in Ocarina of Time, called the Great Fairies, of course. The Great Fairies in this game are broken up into stray fairies in most cases, actually all cases, but after the first Great Fairy, most of them are broken up into more than one stray fairy, but the first one, like I said, or kind of implied there, the only stray fairy that you have to find to complete the first Great Fairy is that one over there in the laundry pool, in the daytime. In nighttime, or at nighttime, the stray fairy that will complete the one in North Clock Town is actually somewhere up here, and you have to use this Deku flower to fly up there. And by the way, there of course is and this kind of goes back to the story that I forgot to go back to. There is a timer in this game. As you can see, it's like 9 o'clock on the first day. I believe the days start at 6 a.m. So whenever we walked out of that clock tower, I think it was 6 a.m. or if not, it was just right after 6 a.m. Day 2 will start at 6 a.m. the next morning. So there are 3 days that we have to complete the game, so to speak, and we'll get into that much later. I was gonna, yeah, I guess we have to talk to Tatl first, even though I wanted to, like, look up. Actually, oh yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember why I wanted to look up, but if we look over somewhere, there we go, we will see why we only have 3 in-game days to complete the game, or to, you know, get some stuff done, because that moon up there is coming down to get us, and the mask salesman apparently knows that, and he's going to be leaving in 3 days. Now, one thing I want to show you before we go talk to the Great Fairy in North Clock Town is that, and there's the postman, by the way, who's supposed to be the analog of the Running Man, I believe, from Ocarina of Time, but if we try and exit the town, the guards don't like that, especially in the case of the Deku Scrubs, which, incidentally, the Deku Scrub is the only form of Link that we'll have in this game that cannot get out of this gate, but we can actually, through a little bit of a glitch or an exploit, if you just back up like that, you can actually leave and go to Termina Field way before you're supposed to. So I always thought that was kind of a cool thing, because back in the day, the only way I knew to get out of the town as a Deku Scrub was to do that cartridge tilt technique, which I think we all heard about when we were kids. Basically, just like lift up on the left side of the cartridge, and for some reason that makes the guards and stuff, and also that character in Ocarina of Time that wouldn't let you leave the forest, it makes them kind of glitch out and you can walk through them, but I've always heard that was bad for the cartridges, so I don't like to do that. Fortunately, there is a legit way to get out of the town here in this game, if you can call that legit, especially since you can't do the cartridge tilt on the Virtual Console, which I actually am playing on the Virtual Console. I wonder if I can show that right now. And there we go. That should be the Wii menu right there. But yeah, actually, I've never seen this rotating in logo before. But yeah, I am playing on the Virtual Console right now. And speaking of the Virtual Console, I guess it has to wait a while to load here. I hope I didn't, like, screw myself over. There we go. But the Virtual Console seems to have some glitches with Majora's Mask that I've noticed. One thing is that sometimes, if you look at things, they'll be a little bit washed out. I don't see anything here that looks washed out. But back in Termina Field, there was a mountain, actually, that looked a little bit washed out. And also, at the beginning of the game, during those cutscenes, when they showed Link in those trees, it looked a little bit washed out. I don't remember it being like that on the N64, so I think that is just a Virtual Console thing. Also, sometimes when you walk into an entrance like this, the audio will glitch out a little bit, and I think all of this is because of the emulation issues, I guess, with the Virtual Console. But anyway, just listen for a second and see if you can hear the audio glitches that I was talking about. Tatl, and you, young one of the altered shape. Thank you for returning my broken and shattered body to normal. I am the Great Fairy of Magic. I thought that Masked Child was helping me, and I grew careless. All I can offer you now is this. I shall grant your magic power as a sign of my gratitude. Please accept it. And we get our magic power in Majora's Mask much earlier than we did in Ocarina of Time, so that's pretty cool. And in our current form, our Deku form, we can shoot Bubble Blast, which I will show after this cutscene with the Great Fairy. The man who lives in the observatory outside of town may know of the Skull Kid's whereabouts, but be careful. You must not underestimate that child's powers, kind young one. If ever you are returned to your former shape, come see me. I shall give you more help. So as you can see, the Great Fairies are just as enigmatic in Majora's Mask as they were in Ocarina of Time, which I've always really liked that fact about the Great Fairies. They've always kind of, fascinated me, I guess. Now, one thing that we need to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and end the episode here, but in the next episode, we are going to be going in that grotto over there, which you can't see because we're too short to look over. There we go. I need to go in that grotto because there is a mini game that we need to do on day 1, 2, and 3 to get a piece of heart, so we need to do that. We can actually do that on any of the 3-day cycles, but I just like to do it on the first 3-day cycle. And also in the next episode, we're going to be talking to Tingle, and we're going to be talking to that kid right there, because they are very important characters in this game, especially this fellow right here. Believe it or not, he is going to be a kind of like a quest, where basically he kind of gives us like a quest notebook that we're going to need to get 100% in this game. But guys, this has been the first episode of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Like I said, definitely my favorite Legend of Zelda game in the entire world, so I hope you guys enjoy this Let's Play as much as I will enjoy making it. So once again, I want to thank you for watching this episode of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and I hope to see you guys back for the next episode.